From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Labor Day edition. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. Here we go. Labor Day. Labor's a funny word. It's like most words in the English language. Different meanings, different connotation. A woman giving birth is in labor. There are awful connotations, labor camps, forced labor. Of course, you can have a labor of love. So, the word itself, I think, has too many meanings. And mostly, I don't know. I hear the word labor, I think not just work, but difficult work, drudgery, hard labor that you could get sentenced to. Yeah, labor it's not the greatest word in the world. It's not. But it's Labor Day. Now, yeah, sure, stick a day next to it. Now it's Labor Day. Oh, see, now it's a holiday. And not just any holiday. It's one of your better holidays. People love Labor Day. It's still summer, although it's the unofficial end of summer and the beginning of fall. Of course, we all know that. But yeah, Labor Day is always beautiful weather. You got a day at the beach. You got a picnic with the family. You got a 3-day weekend. You got a mattress sale. Let's go buy a new Posturepedic. The holiday itself, it's one of your better holidays. Although I will say, I think it's also, if you stack up all the holidays, I think it comes in dead last in the sense of understanding what the holiday is about. I mean, I think we all know that it's about honoring labor, celebrating workers. We do know that, right? Maybe some of us don't know that at all. But no, I think most of us know that. But do we think of it? Does it ever even enter our mind for a minute? I don't know. I think probably not. All the other holidays, I think, are more self-aware. I mean, take, for example, Memorial Day, the bookend to Labor Day. That's the beginning of the summer. Also, pretty good chance you're going to have nice weather. It's a 3-day weekend. You got your picnics, you got your parties, you got your parades. Oh, this is great. And of course, you got your mattress sales and car dealership deals and all that stuff. But I think everyone's much more aware of what Memorial Day is about. And everybody is taking a little time, a little conscious thought to remember those who have fallen, the real meaning of Memorial Day. And small towns all across America, and some big ones too, they're having these little parades, and veterans of wars gone by are marching down Main Street, and they march down to the cemetery, and they have this beautiful little ceremony. You know, the local high school trumpet player plays taps, and it's genuinely kind of beautiful and very sincere. I've spent many, many hours of my life at just such ceremonies. And I think America generally, and Americans, all of us as individuals, I think we really kind of understand Memorial Day and we give it its worth. I don't think we do that for Labor Day. If I'm wrong, tell me. I don't see it. How in the world are we honoring labor? I mean, what are we actually doing on Labor Day weekend that shows the workers of America that we love and appreciate them? I mean, most of us are workers. It's, I don't know, 90% of us are working for a paycheck, right? It's only the top 10% are living off their dividends. The owner class, the capitalist class, the upper echelons of the managerial class who are kind of carrying the water for the owners, and so they get extra perks. Yeah, there's a small portion of Americans who aren't really working paycheck to paycheck, but most of us are. So most of us are workers, and most of us then, we should feel like we are being honored. I don't know, do you feel that way? Yeah, sure, you're getting Monday off, but you get Monday off for a lot of holidays. They're like, how many? 14, 15, 16 federal holidays now. No, I don't think we're aware. I don't think we are. I really wish we were. And I wish there was some real tangible way to do what the holiday purports to do. Honor working people. Honor them. I don't know how exactly. I haven't thought it through that far. Although the one thing I would do, here's something I have thought of. If I could wave a magic wand or pass a law or whatever, I would guarantee that every real worker, like paycheck to paycheck worker, gets Monday off. And Saturday and Sunday, gets the weekend off. In fact, leave early on Friday. I don't want to see you till Tuesday morning. Every single person who works paycheck to paycheck deserves Friday noon, cut out early, to Tuesday morning, come in a little bit late. Now I understand. Okay, of course, don't rain on my parade. I understand that hospitals have to be open, emergency services. Okay, all right, I get it. But other than that, the retail stores, the mattress outlets, the car dealerships, everybody's having these big Labor Day sales all through the weekend. If you, of the owner class, managerial class, if you want to play that game, then you guys, owners, capitalists, upper echelon managers, people who aren't living paycheck to paycheck, you need to come down onto the floor then and sell the cars. You need to dispense the slushies. Regular folks should be not working on Labor Day weekend. That's the very least we can do. It's supposed to be about honoring workers. Let's actually do it. So, yeah, if I could make it happen, if I had my way, every real genuine worker, and you know who I mean, 3-day weekend, absolutely. And by the way, worker, I think, is a better word than laborer. As I said, the word labor or laborer has certain connotations. I think worker, it's more political, it's more class conscious, and let's be honest. Let's not try to pretend. Is there anybody here in America still trying to pretend that we do not have a class system? Of course we have a class system. We have a working class, we have the owning class, the capitalists, and as I've mentioned, we have this sort of upper echelon managerial class that carry water for the capitalists, and they get a whole lot of extra perks. And yeah, they may be drawing a salary, they may be working for their money, but mostly they're living just fine. And they're in good favor with the owner class. And of course they strive to be. And in a large part they are, because many of them, of course, are stockholders. We know that people who own stock, who actually benefit, who gather dividends, those whose money makes money, we know who they are. And they know who they are. So yeah, I think it's a day. It's a weekend that I wish we were more aware of these things. I wish we talked about them. I wish we thought about them. I wish we did something about it. Yeah, I mean, God bless Karl Marx. He's the one who taught us a very distinct difference, a line of demarcation between those who sell their labor. They sell their bodies quite literally in the service of those who own the means of production. And it's not to say that everyone is, trudging around with chains on their ankles. A lot of people like their jobs. If you like your job, if you're happy in your employment, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're part of the so-called working class, you're a laborer under Karl Marx's definition, but you really like your job and you have no complaints, hey, man, I'm happy for you. Good for you. I hope you don't use that as an excuse when issues of labor and politics come up. I hope you don't use that as an excuse to say, well, I'm happy, so screw everybody else. And that brings us back to the holiday. I wish more of us were aware. That's kind of the nice thing about holidays. If you forget over the rest of the year, at least you got one damn day you can be reminded. That was kind of a nice thing when Congress passed Juneteenth. Some people kind of mocked it. I myself was very quick to point out, hey, you're declaring Juneteenth, but you want to get on the real problems here, maybe some reparations, maybe fix what's gone wrong and what's still embedded in many racist institutions. I mean, there's lots of work to do. But at the very least, and certainly folks in the black activist community who fought for this for years, I mean, of course they agree. Yeah, let's get some real legislation passed. Let's get some real actual reform happening. Let's try to right some of these injustices, of course. But at the same time, this community of black activists were pretty damn happy to have a Juneteenth. They fought for it. And it is nice to have one day out of the whole year where at least we're going to acknowledge it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to try to understand it. There might be a little feature on the news about it. Great. But do we have that same understanding, even for one day, for one weekend, about labor, about work? Again, I don't think so. I don't think it's there. I don't see it, personally. At best, maybe you'll have that old bald guy on PBS NewsHour. He'll do a little 10-minute feature, maybe, on labor. Yeah, so it's Labor Day. Happy Labor Day weekend. It's been a federal holiday. I just looked it up here because I forgot. Let's see. 1894, it became a federal holiday. According to what I'm looking at here, 30 states were already officially celebrating Labor Day, and it became a federal holiday in 1894. As opposed to, of course, International Workers' Day is May 1st, which very few people in America are even aware of, let alone celebrate. And there's something else Marx was right about. Whatever workers' movement you have, whatever labor movement you have to think in international terms. I mean, how many international trade agreements, how many NAFTAs do we have to have? Or whatever this latest one, USMCA. How many of these deals do we have to go through? How much offshoring by corporations do we have to see before we understand the international nature of work? But I digress. Labor Day started by trade unions themselves. It was a movement within the labor movement. They're the ones who started celebrating themselves, and they thought they deserved a holiday. They thought they deserved to be honored. They made it happen way back in the 1880s. And they lobbied for it, and they got state houses to enact the state holidays. International Workers' Day, as I mentioned, of course, that's May 1st. That was had similar origins, late 19th century. And shoot, if you know anything about the history of labor, and I don't pretend to know much, but I certainly know that it's filled with violence. Yeah, rights... workers' rights, which we're still fighting for, they're still fighting for, I'm very comfortable here in my semi-retirement. But yeah, workers are still fighting to organize, fighting for rights. But the history of the movement is filled with literal wars. All the more reason that on our contemporary Labor Day weekend, these people deserve not only today's essential workers, the grunts working in the fields and in retail and climbing the poles and sweeping the streets. Yeah, absolutely they need to be honored. But just as much, we got to think of it historically. We really ought to take this holiday a little more seriously. You can still have your fun and you can have your weenies and beans and you can go to the beach. I'm not saying you can't do these things. I'm not a killjoy. Have a great time. But I think Labor Day is really, really missing that element to the point where it barely exists. And of course, let's not be naive. That's not necessarily unintentional, because who does it serve? It only serves the workers. And this country isn't set up to serve workers. It's set up to make money for the owners. And they make a lot more money selling mattresses than they do about telling maudlin stories about bricklayers who laid down their lives to try to earn some rights for future generations. There's no money in it. There's no profit in it. As opposed to something like Memorial Day, where the military is a damn religion. Now, I'm not putting down Memorial Day. I think we should. It's absolutely appropriate to set aside a day and to get very serious about honoring those who have fallen. I am absolutely 100% in favor of it. But it's no accident that holiday gets a lot of attention, that is, for its real purpose, as opposed to Labor Day, because there's profit in that. The whole military-industrial complex. They've got this whole entire mythology constructed over a couple of 100+ years, and it absolutely serves their purposes for all of us to get all teary and dewy-eyed and maudlin at the end of May every year. No, it's not a bad thing. Just like Christmas isn't a bad thing. No holiday is a bad thing. They're all wonderful. But some serve the owner class and some don't. Labor Day does not serve the owner class, except to sell mattresses and cars. So it's no accident that the meaning of Labor Day, those who are meant to be honored, that whole aspect of the day has pretty much disappeared. You tell me, show me an example. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong about this. Show me an example of any workers actually being honored, other than getting maybe Monday off at best, and a whole lot of people getting nothing off. Now it's going to be a busy weekend. I can give you an extra Tuesday. Tell you what, we'll save it for February when things are slow, and you can have a day off then. Yeah, go ahead, put it on the calendar, make your plans. Well, what's the state of things for labor, for workers, as we speak here? Oh, I saw an interesting article. You know, as COVID taught us, it taught us many things. And one of the things it taught us is that most workers, or at least a majority of workers, are very happy working in kind of a hybrid situation. Of course, some people had to work from home for quite a long time. They had to Zoom in if they had the kind of a job that allowed for that. And then at a certain point, businesses decided, maybe we should have some people come back. Some people wanted everybody back. Some people said, take your time. Others set up these little hybrid systems. Well, we've had enough data now to show us. And this research team, CanGrade, I haven't heard of them. They came out with this study, and they have calculated that 59% of U.S. workers are best suited for hybrid working. 24% work their best when working in person, and 17% work their best with a remote work environment. So as we go forward here, it would be great if we could carry this lesson forward, and if businesses could be flexible. And from everything I read, there's quite a lot of that going on. Yeah, some people are better at home. We've learned, they can do that. You can be productive. You can serve your company. You can do your job. You can be happy. Now, it's a low percentage. Only 17% prefer to work entirely from home. But that's 17% of a workforce of a couple 100 million. That's a lot of people. And for them to have that opportunity, great. So let's make this possible. Speaking of workers, we have a so-called worker shortage. Remember when everybody was talking about this terrible worker shortage and people don't want to work? I think that was pretty well settled. I think that argument, that debate, is no longer a debate. It's no longer an argument. People found better things to do, and they decided they didn't want to come back for those crummy slave wages they were getting. And so even though the percentage of unionized workers is way down from its heights in the, 40s, all of a sudden workers seem to have a little bit of bargaining power. What do you know? And some companies tried to get cute about it, but others just bit the bullet and said, okay, well, going to have to raise wages. And you see it every day. You see it in workplaces advertising. $15, $16, $17, $20 an hour, bonus. And like I said, some tried to get cute. Like I think, did we talk about McDonald's? I think we did. They were advertising $15 an hour, but when you read the fine print, it's really starting at like 10 and it eventually works up to 15. And if during that time period you're 5 minutes late, you get docked points, and nobody winds up getting the 15. It was all just kind of a little bit of a scam that McDonald's was trying to pull, and they didn't get away with it. So good for us. Speaking of labor unions, here's another number. Looks not too bad. 65%. This is a Gallup poll I'm looking at. 65% of Americans approve of labor unions. That might not sound like a lot, but relatively speaking, It's not bad. The highest number ever recorded from the Gallup poll is 75%. That was back in like 1950. And it's gone kind of up and down over the years, somewhere between 70 and 55, up to 65. It goes up and down. The lowest mark, and this is surprising to me, the lowest mark for Americans' approval of labor unions was in 2008. It was 45%. It dipped below 50. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think was going on there? I mean, the financial crisis, you can't blame unions for that, can you? Were all those guys in the Treasury Department and all those Wall Street guys, did they convince us not only to bail out banks and Wall Street, did they also convince us that unions were bad? I don't know. I have no idea why that is. But currently we sit at 65% approval. That's not bad, actually, relative to that number over the years. Okay, I'll take that. Now, as far as Americans who are in unions, that's another story. That's at an all-time low. That's down, I think, like 10%. That's crazy. And the only way to get out of that situation, other than a few local victories here and there, which is great, like my neighbor here around the corner, Colectivo Coffee, now the largest coffee house chain in America that's unionized. The workers won this one, and they were fought tooth and nail by the owners. So that's good. But really the only way to make any headway in more union representation is through federal legislation. We got to open up the possibilities. We have to make it easier. And again, Nancy and the House have done their part. It sits in the Senate unable to do anything because of the filibuster. So, sorry, I know sometimes you don't want to talk politics, but there's just no getting around it. You, voters, you got to either get a clear majority of senators who will support pro-union legislation, and you know who they are, or you got to somehow convince Washington to do away with the filibuster. Because I'm looking at the future here. You know, in future Labor Days, what's it going to look like? What's the labor landscape going to look like? Well, if you can have some success, lefties, politically, then we can get more union representation. We can get more workers' rights. Things like, well, give Joe a little credit. Things like family leave, help with childcare, things like that. You know, I got to hand it to Joe and the Democrats in Congress. They got some of this done. Good for them. If you want that to keep going, if you need, and we do need that to keep going, then you got to do this politically. You got to vote accordingly. You know, do all the things we talk about. Write letters, make calls, hit the streets. You know the drill. Now, looking at the future, if the other scenario takes place, if the right-wingers, the kind of legislation we see in Texas and Florida and Arkansas and elsewhere, if we see this kind of red state kind of legislation spread to other states, and God forbid if we see it with a Republican fascist, white supremacist, Nazi Republican Party in Washington, if we see them with a majority again in the near future, man, future Labor Days are not going to look good. Because that, we know that drill too. Less emphasis or de-emphasis of workers' rights versus owners' rights. Wages get suppressed. Deregulation. Then it's just more madness and exploitation. We cannot afford to go down that road for a lot of reasons. But labor, the interest of the working class, which again is pretty much most of us, anybody who works for a paycheck. And, talking Republicans and Democrats, yeah, I can praise Joe and the Democrats for trying to drag America into the 21st century with basic rights for workers, things like family leave and that sort of thing. But if we really want to make some progress, let's not pin our hopes on one of the two corporate parties. I see the difference between the two parties, I absolutely do. But that's mostly because the Republicans have gone off the cliff. Democrats are still a firmly entrenched, centrist, capitalist, corporate party. I mean, the perfect illustration of that is the whole idea of growth. Republicans, Democrats, everybody, right, left, center, even, for God's sakes, even Bernie and AOC and the squad, they all say the same thing, that the economy needs to grow, that job growth is a good thing. Growth has to be reversed if we want to live on this planet much longer. Job growth, it's funny. I talk about human rights all the time. Housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Education is a human right. Even leisure time and opportunity to enjoy the arts is a human right. All of those are human rights. And I hear so many people repeat the same thing. There are a lot of us who believe that. But so many people who tick down that list, and I'm right there with them, they'll stick right in the middle, and a job is a human right. And see, that's where they lose me. No. We should not all be working. I'm hoping in future Labor Days that less than half of us are working in what we think of now as a traditional job in the economy. I'm making air quotes if you can't see them. There's plenty to do, but I would hope that most of us have the ability to go and do what we want and not feel forced to go work as some cog in some machine. Again, if you like your job, good for you. Okay, I'm not going to have that fight right now. But there's plenty to do. We have little kids to take care of. We have elderly to take care of. We got a planet to take care of. There's lots of good things that any one of us can get up every day and go do it. To have to tie that work, and here I'm, again, back to the lexicon. I'm separating work from job. Work is something that just we do. We serve ourselves, we serve each other, we serve the planet, we serve the community. It's our work. A job is an economic relationship that you have with the owner class. That's the difference. So yeah, we should all work, but it should be of our own choosing. And we shouldn't have to keep designing this system in such a way that jobs are the only way to put bread on your table, jobs that serve to funnel money up to the owner class. So no, jobs, no. I mean, even the Green New Deal, we're all supposed to love the Green New Deal, right? But even the Green New Deal, as good as it is, it's still embedded into that structure of owner class, working class, and the jobs that tie them together. My bottom line on this, when you and I talk in the near future or the far future on another Labor Day weekend, every single person gets up every morning and goes out and does whatever the hell they want to do, whatever best suits them, whatever serves the community. And we completely and forever separate work from money. They should have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Guarantee everybody the basic human rights of healthcare, housing, food, etc. And good people will get up every day and do good work, and we can still get organized and work together. We can still have industry, produce things we need. We can distribute things we need. But if we untie it from money and decouple it from the profiteers, now we've got a Labor Day we can celebrate. That's what I'm talking about. Happy Labor Day, everybody. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.